What exactly is the soul of black men and women? To me, it is connecting with the communal spirit of African ancestors who proudly proclaimed that we are not 3/5 of a man. It is being aware of the fact that yes, in spite of your past, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Regarding African American history, have you ever wondered about the period between slavery and the Civil Rights Movement? This book answers the question as well as many more. The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B DuBois. W.E.B DuBois lived to witness and contribute to the betterment of African American lives after the Emancipation Proclamation. To me, he was one of the most important voices of the 20th century. He starts by describing this double consciousness, this two-ness, being a Negro and an American. This double consciousness conflicts with each other. One side telling you who you really are, and the other side that only allows you to see yourself through the revelation of the other world. And the other side that only allows you to see yourself through the revelation of the other world. Do I know what the double consciousness feels like? Absolutely. From my own experiences, I can tell you that for most of my life, I'd have to say that my identity leaned more to the American side than to the black side of me. To be quite honest, I don't know exactly where my ancestors are from. I grew up singing the national anthem in public schools. I didn't engage in a lot of dialogue about my blackness. In my education, American history took precedence over black history most of the time. But wait, isn't that the same? Never mind. Even when I lived in England, locals recognized me as the American, not the black guy from Virginia. Why? Because there are plenty of black folks in England too. But what initially separated me from them was my nationality and my accent. You may be thinking to yourself, so what's the problem? Well, according to Du Bois, being black was the problem. A problem not in the sense of morality, what is right and what is wrong, but a problem as in something that is usually met with hostility. If you were to ask me, to be black in America is to understand and walk through the struggle of inequality, based on your skin color, while still maintaining a level of resiliency and skill to combat our reality. And the reality is that this double consciousness is ultimately separated by the veil is the mentality that kept everyone from seeing African Americans for who they really are. This veil is what makes the color line so transparent geographically. This veil reinforced master and slave mentalities among whites and blacks even after the emancipation. So again, where did they go from there? There are 3 sections of the book that I'd like to share. First, there was the Freedmen'S Bureau. This was a federal government agency that was created to assist refugees, freedmen, and abandoned lands during the Civil War. So you're letting us black folk come together to sort out our lives and our land? That was the intention. But former slave owners and other racists did everything they could to make sure that it didn't happen. After 7 years of working in the Freedmen'S Bureau, it failed. Secondly, I'd like to bring up the Atlanta Compromise, a notable speech made by Booker T. Washington, who was an advocate for civil and political equality. And what better place to do it than in Atlanta? That's where most of us black folk were. Even today, Atlanta is still home to tons of African Americans. And finally, I'd like to get into the training of black men. Here, Du Bois argues for a necessity of higher education for African Americans. His points are clear and validated. Higher education is a great opportunity for black folk. Education is a quintessential tool that former slaves needed to thrive and ultimately liberate their minds. And yes, Du Bois was an advocate for the Negro College, what we now refer to as HBCUs. Historically black colleges or universities. Du Bois mentioned a few HBCUs like Fisk, Howard, and Shaw University because they stood out to him. He knew that these colleges and universities should function to uplift black people through social regeneration. Ooh, that sounds real good. We'll take it. Here's a quick story I want to tell. This HBCU talk reminds me of how my white English friend got the impression that these schools were discriminating against non-blacks. I had to give him the windshield wiper fingers. No, 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 no. First of all, non-blacks can't attend the universities. Also, there's no discrimination in taking pride in education that was once stripped from us for decades. After reading this book, I am reminded that black folk have made some great progress. But there's still much work to be done. I'm with it. This is the Black Curriculum.